Brass knuckles or knuckle dusters are illegal in many places for a very good reason. They don't just punch, they're impact multipliers that shatter bone, disfigure faces, and end fights instantly. If ever you come across one of these in the wrong hands, you need to know exactly what it is, how it works, and how to survive it. Let's check it out. This video isn't about promoting brass knuckles, it's about street survival. In my contemporary fighting arts system, I teach a principle called nature of the beast. Now, in order to defend against any street weapon, you need to understand its strengths and limitations. And if you don't understand how a weapon works, you can't defend against them, period. And against brass knuckles, ignorance isn't just dangerous, it can be deadly. The idea of brass knuckles goes back thousands of years. Roman gladiators used the caestus, a leather glove reinforced with metal to make every strike devastating. Even in places like India and Japan, warriors had their own versions of fist weapons designed to turn the human hand into a weapon. Fast forward to the American Civil War, where brass knuckles were surprisingly common. Soldiers cast them from lead, brass, even melted down bullets in campsites for brutal close quarters combat. They were small, concealable, and devastating, perfect for trench fighting. Even President Abraham Lincoln's personal bodyguard, Ward Hill Lamon, reportedly carried brass knuckles along with a blackjack and Bowie knife to protect the president. From that point on, brass knuckles became woven into American history, from the battlefield to the back alley. Brass knuckles are compact, concealable, and built to destroy on contact. They don't need a wind-up or a big swing. Just one short, explosive punch can end the fight before you even know what happened. Classic brass knuckles are a solid metal frame that slides over all four fingers, turning your fist into a blunt force hammer. Every ounce of power you generate is focused into a narrow ridge of steel or brass, and that's why bones shatter on impact. And it's not just about concentration of force. The added weight makes every strike heavier. For example, my traditional brass knuckles weigh approximately 7 ounces, and that's nearly half a pound of solid metal added to your fist. That weight alone multiplies the impact power. One clean shot can break a jaw, collapse an eye socket, or knock teeth out for good. These aren't just fight stoppers, these are face breakers. The extended rounded palm grip helps spread the shock through your whole palm instead of just your fingers. That design not only makes the weapon more efficient, it also protects the hands from breaking under its own force. But there are many variations. Trench knuckles used in World War I combine the brass knuckle with a dagger blade, making them both a punching and stabbing weapon. Modern versions of brass knuckles show up in aluminum, stainless steel, or even hardened plastic, designed to slip past metal detectors. Some novelty models even come with spikes attached, but the principle never changes. Brass knuckles weaponize your fist by focusing all of your power into a small, bone-breaking impact point that shatters bone. I've studied brass knuckle training for decades. In fact, I developed a unique methodology way back in the early 90s. I even considered putting a book together on it years ago, but I shelved it and only shared the material with select professionals who needed it in the field. And to give you some perspective, I've even integrated my Widowmaker raising methodology with brass knuckles, which takes the destruction to an entirely different level. And let me make it absolutely clear, I classify brass knuckles as a deadly force weapon. One clean shot can leave someone disfigured, and depending on where you strike, the temple, the throat, the base of the skull, it can kill outright. In the eyes of the law, that level of destruction puts brass knuckles in the same category as a knife or a gun. First off, there's a lot of amateurs and hobbyists out there teaching dangerous ways to hold brass knuckles. and their bad advice will get you hurt, broken wrist, crushed fingers, you name it. And here are just a few examples. Believe it or not, some people actually think this is the right way to hold brass knuckles. If you flip them around and strike with the palm side, you'll have zero impact power and you're volunteering for a broken wrist. Wearing brass knuckles near the middle of the fingers like you're knocking on a door turns your strike into a weak, swatting blow and puts massive stress on your wrist. Riding up near the top joint misaligns your skeletal structure. The moment you make contact, you're going to feel tremendous pain and risk serious wrist injury. Now, for those of you who live in places where brass knuckles are legal, let me show you the proper way to hold them. Here's the correct way to hold traditional brass knuckles. They need to sit just behind the second joint of your fingers. That's the middle bend in the phalanges, not the first bend near the fingertips. If you wear them too high or too low, you're going to injure yourself. When positioned correctly, the palm support should line up flush with your palm, locking the weapon into your grip and creating proper skeletal alignment with your wrist and forearm. And here's something most people don't even realize. Your two middle fingers go through the larger opening next to the palm support. That's how brass knuckles seat properly, giving you both alignment and control. Get this wrong and you're going to be the one who ends up broken. Now, for those of you who actually use old school traditional brass knuckles, you've got to be one tough son of a bitch. These things demand conditioning. It's not about strength. It's about toughening your fingers, your hands, and your wrists to withstand the impact. Without that, the weapon will punish you as much as your opponent. That's why I recommend starting with gloves on. Let your fingers gradually acclimate to the force because brass knuckles are very unforgiving. Train first on a body opponent bag, something with give, and only after you've built up tolerance should you move on to harder surfaces. That progression is how you develop the durability to actually use them without destroying yourself. Hey, we're about to get back into the video, but let me ask you something. Do you want to legitimately accelerate your self-defense skills? And are you sick of clickbait videos teaching absolute garbage? Or tired of being misled by unqualified wannabe experts who have zero credibility or experience? If the answer is yes, now is the time to join my War Machine memberships. As a member, you're going to get exclusive access to in-depth training videos, exclusive full-feature video content, downloadable training PDFs, and direct insights you're not going to find anywhere else. Plus, you're going to have direct access to me in the comments section of all my videos. So if you have questions, you're going to get real, detailed answers from me and not some random keyboard warrior. So if you're serious about mastering real-world combat skills, hit the join button below and start training like a true war machine. Now, let's get back to the lesson. So how do you defend against a brass knuckle attack? Well, the answer is simple. You defend against it the very same way you would defend against punches. However, there's one important caveat. It's critical when utilizing blocking techniques that you must use your forearm to intercept the attack. So for example, if Tommy decided to throw a haymaker at me here, I'm going to use our mid block, making contact with the belly of the arm. And the same thing would apply if he threw an overhead shot. And if Tommy threw a straight punch at me, I would simply aim right for my face, Tommy. Here, faster. The idea is you would deflect off the line, just like you would with the straight punch. Now, here's the problem that combat sports get into, and also some of the reality-based guys get into. When they use things like the triangle block. So for example, if Tommy's throwing a punch at me here, do it slowly, Tommy, because I'm gonna get my hands broken. What they would do is they would actually block with the triangle block. If that brass knuckle makes contact with this hand, it's gonna turn it into gravel. So it's critical. These blocking techniques that a lot of you guys in MMA and boxing try to take and translate to the street, if this guy has brass knuckles, all bets are off. Your hand is toast. And if he has a sap, same thing. And if he's got a knife, it's going right through your ear canal. This is critical. You guys need to use reality-based blocks that are safe against hand blows, as well as brass knuckles and other street weapons. And for some of the reality-based people out there that teach the spiking elbow technique, the same vulnerability applies against brass knuckles, sap, and knife. You're going to end up in a body bag. You never want to use this type of block because let me tell you something. Tommy, if I didn't see, let's say for example, it's in a dark environment, I think Tommy's throwing a hook at me and he throws that hook, but it's brass knuckles. Do you have any idea what that's going to do? First of all, it's going to break your hand, it's going to send you flying and most likely give you a concussion. These are people, when they create these techniques, they're not thinking about the broad spectrum of encounters. And it shows you they really haven't done their homework. So what I'm trying to say is when someone has brass knuckles or even throwing fisted blows in a street fight, rely on practical defensive techniques like the mid block, where you're making contact with the belly of the arm and intercepting the attack. So to illustrate the point, here's a really simple example. Tommy, come on out. We're gonna take the focus mitt. Tommy's gonna put this to the side of his ear, just like you would with your hand when doing a triangle block or a spiking elbow. So Tommy, put it against the side here. Now let me ask you a question. Would you want to be on the receiving end of this? Tommy, I'm just gonna tap with my hand lightly. What are your thoughts on that?
No way. I would not want to take that shot.
So just imagine a fisted blow with full force or a sap, blackjack, or brass knuckles making contact. If you don't believe that this is a vulnerability, take this against the side of your head, have your partner tap on it and progressively increase it, and you're gonna see why the triangle block and spiking elbow are flawed blocking techniques in the street. Brass knuckles are outlawed in many places for a very good reason. They're compact, brutal, and built to break bone. This video is designed to educate you, to show you how they work and why you need to be aware of them. In real-world self-defense, what you don't know can cripple you. Awareness is survival, and ignorance is a liability. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next video.